Hey guys, it's Ticking Clock. Wanted to do an update for a while on my research of the global conspiracy, geographical conspiracy. Um, so here's what I'm finding. I'm finding that I originally said that first I thought this middle line represented an old equator, then I thought it represented the ecliptic. But then I went and I used Google Sky to do an inverse line from Google Sky and retraced it back out onto Google Earth, and this green line represents an ecliptic path. And you can see it travels in between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn and bounces back up as we would expect. Whereas our middle line ventures outside of these particular lines, meaning that it represents something else. And so this set me on a new quest to learn here. So I wanted to relay the information I have. I haven't put it together as well as I would have liked, but I wanted just to get the information out there. Maybe somewhere down the road I will put something together real nice, so someone who's not familiar with my research can just watch it and understand. But at this point, if you haven't seen my other videos, you need to watch those first, otherwise you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. So I started learning about the ancient Babylonian text, the Mul Apin it's called, and it talks about the three paths of Enlil, Anu, and Enki. I said, wow, well, I have three paths here, and the three paths represent paths through the stars, paths through constellations. And so I was like, this is strange. This seems to be maybe a possible connection. So I checked it out on the Google Sky. So that's what I'm gonna take you to Google Sky now. And right at our intersection point, we see Booties. Now, Booties is actually a representation of the ancient Sumerian god Enlil. Okay, and Enlil was considered to be, I think they said, the yoke similar to, I think, oxen pulling, some sort of tilling plow through the earth, and it's the connection point. And here we see it as the connection point straight on main star in Booties at its center point. And it's not, these lines don't represent the zodiac perfectly, but as far as I have researched, they show the three paths of Enlil, Anu, and Enki, each one representing a different part of the sky. Now, I was researching and looking into this and what else was on the lines, and I came across Sirius. And I don't know how many of you are that knowledgeable about Sirius. I mean, I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't. After learning some, and then realizing that this was on the line, I became extremely intrigued. So Sirius is the eye of Canis Major, and there are many esoteric, occult symbolisms that go along with Sirius. Egypt based its entire calendar off of Sirius. When it would have its heliacal rising, it would indicate the beginning of their new year, and they considered those the dog days of summer. They believed actually the energy from Sirius, for those who don't know, heliacal rising is when the star rises right before the sun in the dawn, and you can see it. And so they believed that the star was behind the sun and was transferring its energy through the sun and giving additional heat to the land. I've heard it coincided with the flooding of the Nile. So they began to worship this star. However, the heat is also associated with, hell. It was also connected with Isis. There's a lot of interesting facts behind the Sirius star, which we'll get into a little more here. But yeah, I just noticed that this star lays on the line, and with the tilting of the Earth, I already showed that these particular lines are the same distance as our tropic zones in one of my other videos. So I started thinking perhaps Sirius may be what is tracing out the two lines with the tilting of the Earth. As the seasons change, Sirius becomes directly overhead in a different part of the sky. And that is exactly what our New Year's represents on January 1st. At, right at the stroke of midnight on January 1st, we celebrate New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day. And in New York City, they celebrate with the ball dropping in Times Square. And if you look directly overhead, there will be Sirius. They have aligned our calendar system, just as the Egyptians did with the heliacal rising. We have aligned it with the direct overhead view of Sirius. And not a lot of people know that. Our entire calendar year is based around the movement of Sirius in our sky. So I started looking more into Sirius. It just seemed very intriguing to me, and I came across a African tribe known as the Dogon. And now the Dogon believed that they are descendants from the ancient Egyptians, but what separates them from much of the world is their belief system. And they believe that we are somehow connected with the star Sirius. They believe that that intelligent beings actually came from the star system of Sirius and came to this Earth in the formation of whales and dolphins with legs. And if you think it back of pictures, ancient pictures of Enki, where he's the fish god, or Dogon, fish god, which is also represented by the papal hat. which is acknowledgement of the fish that the ancient priests used to wear in recognition of Dogon, who is Enki, who may be a representation of these ancient life forms supposedly came from Sirius. And what's even stranger is near Cairo in Egypt, there is a location known as the Valley of the Whales. And in this valley, there are numerous whale skeletons, but the thing that are exposed in the middle of the desert. But the strange thing about it is that they are the evolutionary missing link from land mammals to whales, because these whales are special. They have legs. So science says that they are the evolutionary missing link. But then if we go and look at what the Dogon say, they say that they were actually visited by these creatures. Now there's two possibilities here. One possibility is the Dogon are from Egypt, and the ancient Egyptians worshipped these whale bones. They knew of the sacred site. They came up with their own mythology behind it and said that they were ancient beings that had come down. Or it is an evolutionary link of whales from land mammals to sea mammals. But there's two possibilities there, and it becomes very strange when you throw in this Dogon mythology. It becomes extraordinarily strange when you come to find that the Dogon predicted the orbit of a star, Sirius B, around Sirius A. And not only did they predict this orbit, an orbit that wasn't discovered until the 1950s with a radio telescope, an orbit that is not visible to the naked eye. But not only did they predict the orbit, they predicted the period of the orbit and how often its orbit around Sirius A takes.